That was just as I was going to sleep. And during the night, I actually woke up again. And when I woke up, I had another vision. And this is the closest again that I can get to it, of the atmosphere. And this vision took place before the first one in time, even though for me it was later on in the evening. I was on a boat, and she kind of walked up, and she went to these tents. I can just describe, it was almost like the desert, a very sort of dry area, and there were like tents everywhere, and women were wearing brown sort of smocks, and they had their hair in this brown thing, and they were speaking a language again I don't know. And I know French a little bit from having studied it in this lifetime, and it wasn't French, and I really was trying to see if it was at all resembled French, and I couldn't see that it resembled French at all. But anyway, they were speaking this language. She gets off the boat onto the shore, heavily pregnant, walks to these tents and says, "Get the records," in their language, whatever. She says, "Get the records." They scurry about, and they got these records, and these birth records were not the same as we have birth records. In a labour ward today, you have midwives and they write things like, "Dad gone for KFC," and things like that. They write things like cervix 7 centimetres dilated, that sort of thing. But these birth records were very different. These were records of the spiritual imprint that a baby has when it's born. And that's all I can say, because to capture what they were doing is a completely different modality. And so they would write down what spirit guides were present at the birth, what this baby's purpose in life was, all of these sorts of things. So it's a very sort of different. Is this sort of? Yes. I'm just thinking, is everybody bored, or is this like blasé, or is it? Okay, but it with me. Okay, so she then said, Mary Magdalene said, "No, not those records." And then at that point, it was like Madonna had walked into, I mean like Madonna the celebrity, or Lady Gaga, or whatever you want. And they all suddenly went, "Oh," and they went, "It's her." And there was this atmosphere of, "Oh," right, and they hadn't recognised her at first, but then suddenly they knew who she was. And they went and they got these records, and all I could see was like having a camera, and all I could see was Egyptian hieroglyphs on the top of this piece of paper, and this knowing that this woman was Egyptian royalty. So again, what to make of it, I don't know. I mean, pretty soon after this vision, the Da Vinci Code exploded and everything got all about, but nowhere did I see anyone mention that Mary Magdalene had 2 children, apart from actually the Catherine McGowan books. So this is basically a summary of what I saw. There were 2 children, and I have reasons to believe, too long to go into at the moment, that man that came at the end after the birth was actually Thomas. And Thomas is supposed to be Jesus' twin. I don't know if you know about all that. So, yes, very, very, very weird. But it seemed to be an initiation, all of this, of bringing me into the awareness. Hindu upbringing didn't have anything to do with Christianity. Christianity was this vague thing that Christians did, and I was brought up with Kali and Durga and all these sort of, and primarily with science. So actually, if you think about it, I was brought up by 2 doctors. That's really what I was brought up with. So again, I got led to something called the Gnostic Gospels. I don't know if anybody have heard of it. A few of you in the room have said, yeah. So basically, a lot of the rest of what I'm going to talk about today is what's in the Gnostic Gospels, which some people find very difficult to read, and some people find is sort of fanciful and everything. But I think that what was in the Gnostic Gospels, is probably the main message of that mystery school that I saw in my visions. I think that they were teaching these things, and I've been shown this mystery school in a vision, because it's time to bring this knowledge back again and time to stop ignoring it. Does that sound okay? Or too boring? You're going to go home? I don't know. So basically, I got led to look at the Secret Gospel of John and all the others, and so there's lots of have people heard of the Nag Hammadi text? Yeah, there's the Nag Hammadi. In 1945, I think they were found. There were around that time, just after the Second World War. There were two major discoveries. One was the Dead Sea Scrolls, and one was called the Nag Hammadi text, named after the place in Egypt where they were found. And so these are text manuscripts that were actually discovered that were written in the Coptic language, which is Egyptian written with Greek letters, and it's actually basically the language that early Christians used in Egypt. Yeah, and somebody had buried them for posterity, and they were just found straight after the Second World War. So over the past 50 years or so, we have been deciphering these texts, and they're sometimes called the Gnostic Gospels. Yeah, does everybody know about that? Okay. So it's strange that some people actually haven't heard of them. I think that really is saying a lot about where we are in society at the moment, because, I mean, if you knew that this is what early Christians really thought about, what Jesus' teachings really might be, we should be jumping on it. But we don't. We're not taught to sort of seek these things out. Anyway, I was very much led to the Secret Gospel of John and others, and I discovered this thing called Gnosticism, Gnosticism is actually preceded early Christianity. Christians didn't invent Gnosticism. It's often thought that they did, but anyway, Gnosticism was a tradition that went on before. So a lot of the early Christians, are called Gnostic Christians. And Gnostic is about inner knowing. It's not about looking outside yourself, it's actually about inner knowing. And if you look back at your regular Bible, you will see a lot of the sayings of Jesus about the kingdom of heaven is within, and all of these sorts of things. And if you look back again, you'll see that there are glimpses of that in the Synoptic Gospels. So one of the things that really is amazing about these texts is it actually has a secret history of the origins of humans. And I think this is a part that a lot of scholars just ignore, thinking it's a fanciful tale. But today I'm going to combine it with the science and show you that this is why I think this is partly of what actually went on, that this is actually real. And this is a real message of Mary Magdalene, Jesus and those mystery schools. Okay, and why that is. This is the ancient secret revealed, as it were. Okay, so one of their main messages is the God of the Old Testament is not the true God. Is anybody running out the door now? Is very, very Christian? Okay. That is one of the main messages. And if you look at what is called, the Gnostic creation myth, you have a goddess who created this world, Sophia, and some of you will have heard me talk about black holes. Okay, this is what led me to Sophia, and Sophia in the Gnostic myth fell out of the centre of a galaxy. Now think about it, at this point we're talking about thousands of years ago. It's taken us all up to this point, and up to last year, for the cosmologists to say black holes are created. They knew something that we didn't for centuries. Okay, they knew that the centre of the galaxies are where creation comes from. So I've been talking about it for the last few years. They knew it thousands of years ago. So how creation happened is Sophia, the goddess Sophia, or the other name for her is wisdom, is she created without her consort. And what she created, there's a link with the black hole principle, as some sort of misshapen being that's sometimes called the demiurge. His name is sometimes called Yaldabaoth. Demiurge is from a Greek word that people use. Yaldabaoth is basically the lord of chaos. And he reproduced himself, and he produced all the things like Yahweh, or his, it used to be called Yahoo. Nobody knows how to pronounce it. The original Jews actually used to call him Yahoo. So if I refer to Yahoo, it's often the person that, being that is often called Yahweh. Okay, so he produced Yahoo and all of the different gods. He reproduced himself, and he is the God of the material world, according to the Gnostics. He created humans. He created a lot of the stuff that we see around us. He forgot about his mother was above him, and he said, there's nobody else but me. Sound familiar? No other God but me. And you will obey me, you humans. And he had created them out of clay or whatever. There's different versions. But the important thing is, the goddesses, Sophia and her mother is sometimes described, placed the divine spark in humans. And that divine spark in humans is transcendent to Yaldabaoth. That we have the divine spark within us still that Yaldabaoth can't touch. Okay, and he is kind of like a chaotic, blind god that thinks he's all that, but he ain't, right? But this is clearly what a commentary on what the Gnostics thought about the God of the Old Testament. So, hang on, get off of that. So he's sometimes depicted as a sort of lion with a sort of snake's tail or something. I've got a sort of modern picture of him as well. So sort of angry, sort of snake-like being with a lion's head. And all of these yahoos and all these things, they're also kind of hybrid beings, some of them have got this. Right, are these myths? A lot of the scholars see these things as myths, that they didn't really happen. They're just nice, fluffy stories for how everything came about. Okay, but I feel that we need to re-examine this. And, it could be that this is actually the central message of the mystery school of Mary Magdalene. Okay, so for me, what's happening is scholars at the moment are not mystical. So they are not going to angel workshops with Diana Cooper at the weekend, so they're not getting in touch with their spirit guides and doing all this shamanic work. So they probably don't understand that the universe is made up of multidimensional realities, when actually that's what all the Gnostic Gospels are about.